mammalian hairs, mammalian hairs, mammalian hairs. I have been left no choice but to screen record from my phone because for some odd reason, when I pull up my Gemini on my computer, the same dialogue is not there that is on my phone, and it is verified to be the exact same topic. So I'm just going to walk you through it. I'm going to screen record it. You're going to watch it right here. So this past week, I currently, if you can't tell, I'm kind of really frustrated because it's hard for me to understand the level of stupidity in this world that I used, modernizing with AI. But here's what we got. So here's the situation. There is a company, and this is very common. You don't get hired until it's too late. You've gotten a warning letter, something very serious that you violated, because the reality is most leaders, in my opinion, do not have the humility to be proactive, to seek help. And you only are forced into hiring people like me once it's too late, once you're being forced to do that. Remediation effort, typical. Warning letter already issued by a regulatory agency. That's the only way that you get hired. In my opinion, from what I see these days, that seems to be the case. Once you're in trouble, and no one wants to hear it. No one wants to hear it. No leader wants to hear it until they're in trouble. So I said, gosh, I've seen this so many times, and I know I've actually proven it myself. I was in charge of leading a massive remediation effort. I've seen it. The conclusion was, no, we've tried the top-down approach before. We want to try the bottom-up approach. Let that sink in. No, we've tried the top-down approach before, meaning top-down, the leadership takes responsibility and pushes throughout the organization the change that they need. They tried it. It didn't work. So, quote unquote, they're hoping that trying the bottom-up approach will help resolve their compliance issues. The bottom-up approach. I couldn't believe I was hearing it, but I was not willing to do that because I'm trying to find some probability that the bottom-up approach will work, and I can't. I literally tried using AI tools to help me try and just understand, am I missing something? Everything, in my opinion, starts at the top. If it isn't happening at the top, how is it going to happen throughout the organization? You're trying to fix a situation where you're already in a warning letter status, a very serious scenario. The only thing that could possibly happen that's more serious is that you get put into a status called consent decree. I'll include a definition of that right here. Take a look at it. But it's not a situation that you want to be in because what it indicates is the regulatory agency does not trust your independent quality unit to release batches or to investigate thoroughly. But what I find is most leaders, because of their inability to look in the mirror and be proactive about these issues, they wait until it's too late. And you know what actually happens if they are removed from those positions is they wind up with a golden parachute because they're high up. They have agreements in place that if they're terminated, they're going to get very large severance packages. And then they go and fuck up another facility in the same way that they did. So when I was approached about this opportunity, I said, where I feel I would be of most value would be in working with the site leader, because I've done it before. I've had that position before in remediating these things. It's a cultural transformation that you have to hit from various different directions. You have to hit it. First of all, if you read the warning letter, which I cannot disclose, unfortunately, to you here, it is public information. You're going to have to find it on your own. But I will say that the words that were used in some of the investigations that had been performed were hairs that were found inside of sterile injectable products were described as mammalian hairs. Okay, now I've worked in the industry for 25 plus years. I've never in my life heard that. And it's indicative that there is a problem with whoever came up with these root causes that is much deeper than what's on the surface. Because never have I heard the term mammalian hairs to identify a foreign contaminant in a sterile injectable product to be used. Okay, never. You might hear human hairs, you might hear hairs, but never mammalian hairs. So something in my mind tells me it's much deeper rooted than what's on the surface because no one uses those types of words. I mean, think about what is mammalian hairs? Could dog hair? Could be what? What other mammal's hair could get into your sterile injectable drug product? So I offered my services in working with the leadership team and it got rejected. Now I'm going to walk you through here and some of the prompts I use. Now, this is supplementary. You have to use your brain. So of course I use my brain before doing this. And then I just verify putting in some of the thoughts going through my mind into Gemini. So I started with act as an expert in executive leadership for a pharmaceutical company. It steps into the role. My next prompt, I have a potential new client. The client recently received a warning letter. Their site has almost 2,000 employees. They lack metrics. This is the information I was being told ahead of the meeting. They lack metrics. Imagine, they lack metrics. They don't report any metrics. They seem completely disorganized. I have personally avoided this type of disaster, but used various different approaches to tackle the issues quickly and avoid a disastrous inspection. I would like to tell you how I did it. I will give you several inputs. You only have to acknowledge the input. I'll give you many different inputs. Wait until I write complete to provide an organized plan for my potential new client. Do you understand? Okay. So then I actually, because I said you have to hit this type of issue from various angles. It's not one thing that you have to go and fix. That would be called a Band-Aid. These are systemic issues that are underlying that you have to fix. Otherwise, it's going to continue to happen and you actually never get to the root cause. So the next prompt was literally, I just was very informally spitting out everything I could think of that I did when I had that role. So I met with each business unit leader to diagnose the challenges that they were having. During these discussions, I saw a lot of finger pointing and lack of awareness. I had to then organize a team charter and I identified 10 basic requirements I needed from the leadership team. I had to also establish a leadership team as there was not one. I mean, there actually was one, but it was not representative of all of the business units that need to be represented on a leadership team. That is essential. Cannot stress it enough. Every single business unit in your organization needs to have a channel voice to the senior leadership team. So then what I did is the 10 rules which we called for on our team charter were as follows. And this is what I came up with. It sounds so basic, but it was what I was not seeing happening to the level in which I envisioned it to be required to drive the change we wanted. Number one, team unity. It starts at the very top. I can't see people at the very top have friction. You got to remove the friction. That reminds me, I do have a new website with an ownership and accountability assessment that you can unlock by entering your email. Take a look at it, www.aesresults.com. AES for Aligned Executive Solutions, aesresults.com. So let me keep going. The 10 rules. Team unity. Embrace change and build trust, clear communication, collaborative decision-making, ownership and accountability, connect to the product, the customers, and the colleagues. And we go deep into all of these. High sense of urgency and action, detect opportunities for improvement and bring solutions, be open to feedback and encourage dialogue, creating a yes, we can mindset. So basically addressing all the reasons why, on that last point, why we can't. Every time you suggest how we can do this differently, well, here's why we can't. You got to change the mindset so that people start thinking in, how can we do that? So again, you have to hit this from various different points. I immediately on day one started Gemba. They were uncomfortable without having a plan, but I deliberately started like that. I started by taking the leadership to the shop floor and talking about safety, quality, productivity, workforce development, and financial performance. We picked one or two metrics in each category. Then we did a focus walk and picked a random thing to look at, like floors, ceiling, walls, doors, etc. Eventually, that led to true Gemba walks where we would look at things like how employees access their procedure. Through various Gemba walks and focus walks, we discovered issue after issue after issue and corrected the issues and looked at the systems underlying. Okay, I just screwed this up. Sorry. Eventually, that led to true Gemba walks where we would look at things like how employees access procedure. Through various Gemba walks and focus walks, we discovered issue after issue, corrected the issues, and looked at the systems underlying and asked why those issues had occurred in the first place. Because what it was signaling me was that there was an underlying issue that was systemic, that wasn't built into our procedures that we needed to fix. Next prompt. Gemba evolved daily. Eventually, they caught on and started creating dashboards on their own with Tableau. It evolved to ensure we were constantly evaluating and asking, are we sure we are measuring the right things? That's one of the most common things that I see is, yes, we have metrics, but the question really should be, are you measuring the right things? Meetings that were filling people's calendars eventually started to decline as we incorporated things into Gemba. So basically, when I started in that role, my calendar was back to back to back to back. all day long, no breaks whatsoever. But we started to realize that we're talking about these metrics in this meeting, this issue in that meeting, and we started to consolidate everything into this very short, quick meeting that we had every day. Oh my goodness. Dude, I apologize. Okay. So I took the team offsite, no distractions, to build on this team charter under each of the 10 requirements, the 10 commandments, as I mentioned. I had them all take everything DISC assessments to understand communication style. Now, this is the one thing that I have so many issues with is like people tend to put communication, understanding, the business love languages per se as not important, but it's actually foundational. You cannot achieve whatever it is unless you understand how each one another communicates, especially at the leadership team level. So I wondered how we ended up here. So I looked to see how this talent pool was even selected, because in my mind, I thought, wow, we have to stop the bleeding. Clearly, if have such a mess on our hands, we did not find the right people and we did not know how to screen the right people, and we didn't have them in the right seats. So we have to stop the bleeding by anyone that's onboarded from this point forward. We need to understand who is interviewing them. Do they have the right skills to be able to select the best people? What I found was that people really did not know how to screen talent, nor did they know if they were in the right seats. We fixed that by qualifying people and interviewing through mock interviews. That's something you want to simulate, in my opinion. We had several deviations open, and I wondered how the people were qualified to perform their jobs, because what I was being told, they had a program in place to do that. Unfortunately, I discovered that they just grandfathered everyone into the qualification program because they had already been working on their job. That was a huge gap, massive gap, and explained why so many batch defects. Okay, let's keep going. The leadership team met weekly for staff meetings, constantly setting expectations and sharing updates from each business unit. A big gap was that people were not disseminating information to their teams. Basic managerial stuff here. You have to disseminate information. If you're on the leadership team, whatever level you're at in the managerial, career ladder, you have to learn how to share information, the appropriate information, and so forth. Okay, so apparently that one is set. So we had an outside firm come in and facilitate quarterly leadership development training. So some things you'll have to outsource. I always say, if you have to outsource, it means you're missing a skill set on your team. Trust me, if you hire me, I will get out of your hair as quickly as possible. I'm only there to train and teach and coach. I want to get out of your hair as much as you want me out of your hair, because I'm just addressing a gap that you might have. And it's okay. All companies do. The team charter was laminated and postered around the facility, ensuring that we highlighted when we were deviating from the agreement. So basically, here it is. I actually have it right here. Here it is. Okay. Laminated. So the whole point behind this was anytime I would see, oh, there you are. You're saying why we can't. You agreed to this yes we can mindset, and here's where you're deviating from it. So that's how you navigated through this, by creating the agreement, showing them, plastering it everywhere, and then every time you detect that that your team member is deviating from the agreement, you point it out. That's how you calibrate, because they might not think that they're deviating from it, but you might see it as what next level looks like. You have to demonstrate to them. And once this is a conditioning, right? This is something that you want to condition into people's minds. Okay, let's go. We had to revamp our quarterly town halls. Oh, those were painful. One-on-one meetings were implemented, and even skip level. I had to teach them how. So again, these are all the inputs I'm putting into the AI because I had to hit it from very different approaches, right? From various angles. People that were not performing to our team charter eventually had to be terminated, right? We reset the expectations. Performance was documented. We tried showing them against that charter what it was, where they're not, up to speed or not demonstrating on the agreement we had. It was documented. And unfortunately, it happens. You have to make difficult decisions and weed out some of the cancers that are in the organization. By that, all I mean is those people that are resistant to change. Change drivers, stay. Change resistors, after giving them ample time to get to your expectations. Unfortunately, if they don't adapt, they're not willing to get on board and see the benefits that will be there for them and the business and the team. It becomes toxic. So you have to weed them out. We had a regulatory compliance issues with environmental agencies. That relationship was very bad, and it was something I inherited from my predecessor. So I had to repair that very quickly. So we fixed a relationship that was previously tarnished from my predecessor. And I never imagined having to go sit in front of a room full of maybe maybe 20 people I never knew in the environmental sanitation district and try and repair a damaged relationship when they didn't even know who I was to begin with. I didn't know who they were, but the reputation was already tarnished with the previous leadership. So, which, by the way, probably didn't even know it was tarnished. So let's keep going. We stopped outsourcing tasks. I found we had so much spend in outsourcing maintenance, yet we had a maintenance team. Isn't that weird? Basically, the maintenance team was acting like a call center for outsourcing tasks. We fixed that and drastically cut our spend. Again, just inputs. We celebrated and recognized team members when they performed things that were aligned with the charter that we had developed. Since we were expecting an FDA inspection, we did Gemba walks twice daily and rotated between buildings because we had 3 different facilities. Issues were quickly getting discovered and fixed. So this is about the management going into the trenches and observing. And the key there is never retaliation, just observe, ask questions, learn how people do things. Walking the process. About 4 months into my role, I started to really see the shift. People were taking action and resolving issues at the time of occurrence. Also, 4 months in, the FDA inspectors arrived actually twice in 1 month. The first inspection resulted in 4 minor Form 483 inspections, which is basically the output of the inspection. The goal is you don't want to get one of those, but these were minor observations. We only had 4 minor ones, and then they showed up again. And actually, thinking back, it may have been less than 2 months between inspections, but that's extremely rare. 2 different districts from the FDA showed up, and the second inspector was super tough. Okay, super tough. The great news, because of our quick action, is it resulted in 0. Okay, so you can't even find it out there because there were 0 observations issued from that inspection. And that was a result of the hard efforts that my team put in, those that were aligned with the charter, those that were willing to look at things differently. Okay, so then I told the AI, complete. So this is an interesting prompt. Critique your response from the standpoint of Elon Musk. Revise the output continuously until he grades it an A+, then provide the revised response. Okay, have fun with that one. Take into consideration, my team was 300 people, eventually reduced to 170 people. Our operating costs went from 53 million annually to 37 million in under 3 years, achieving the same output and higher quality, deviations reduced by 80%. There was a major financial impact when I started reviewing every single purchase order. That gave me the opportunity to identify so much waste and spend. So there is a financial indicator as well. My potential client runs a facility of 1,900 employees, so almost 2,000. Taking this all into consideration, would you suggest any revisions to the plan? Okay, so the scale is much different. What I had was 300. They have almost 2,000. They're in already a warning letter status, and I'm taking all the things that I did and trying to use AI to scale it up. What are the 5 most effective AI agents to help facilitate the remediation efforts to resolve the already issued warning letter? So that was interesting. Play around with that. Okay, keep going. And some minor issues and being able to see the canvas, which, by the way, I'm going to get into that. So I really kind of veered off track as I was playing around with this because I was blown away. But my goal here was taking my thoughts and putting them into the AI and preparing something that I could pitch to the client or potential client. So one of the things I discovered along the way was I literally was just playing around and clicked on Gemini, I think it was create podcast, something like that. And it literally wrote an entire podcast.
Come to today's deep dive. So, okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a really technical framework today for building an AI boss tester.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, the goal here is to evaluate leader, figure out their risk score.
Okay, is that not insane? I can, at the push of a button with Gemini, you can create a podcast on all the inputs that I just gave it. So then I told it, I presented the proposal to the leadership team and it was rejected. They said they have tried the top-down approach before and it did not work. Therefore, they want to try bottom-up and hope that things get fixed. This was literally what I was told. So they are looking for people to help them just close deviations. Here are some other things to note. Their quality unit does not get involved in investigations until the very end when it's time to close. So meaning, from the time a deviation happens in their manufacturing process, they don't even see it. They're not even involved in it until it's time to close the deviation. Scary. It takes, on average, each investigator 1 month to close 2 deviations. Big problem. Be as objective as possible and give me your thoughts. Based on what they are requesting, what is the probability of success with this approach? Now, I think it's important that I share with you. At this point, I had already told them that this isn't going to happen for me because I'm putting my name on the line. By the way, for those of you that don't know, my name is Mike Polito. I've been in the pharma industry for over 25 years. I'm now consulting. If you do need to reach out, my contact information is down in the description section below. You can look at my website, aesresults.com. I would welcome the opportunity to partner with you you and come up with a solution for proactive, like be proactive, come on. Or if you've already entered into compliance failures, I can help you fix that as well. So what I was trying to do was understand, like in my mind, I thought, God, this is really messed up. It does not seem like you fix issues from the bottom up. And I literally heard the word, and we hope that a bottom up approach will work. Like literally think about that. That's insane to me. But I didn't know, maybe I was wrong. So now we have the tools to be able to enter this in. That's why I did that. And here was the output. Okay. So the output was there. Critique your response from the standpoint of Elon Musk and reiterate until he grades the response A+, then provide your output. I don't think I was done there. Okay, yes, I was. Okay, so here we go. The site leadership team rejected systemic operational reform. They want to hire contractors to close a backlog of deviations at a velocity of 2 per month, with quality assurance acting as a final tollgate. Probability of success, 0.0. This is not a bottom-up strategy. It is an application of leadership. Attempting to clear an FDA warning letter by hiring external bodies to write deviation reports is the equivalent of hiring scribes to write apology letters while your factory burns down. The FDA will see right through it. Here is the objective first principles breakdown of why the proposed machine is mathematically and operationally doomed to fail. Thank you. The math is completely insane. A closure rate of 2 deviations per investigator per month is absurd. Assuming a standard 160-hour work month, they are spending 80 hours on a single deviation. What are they doing for 80 hours? This tells you exactly what the reality is. The investigators aren't investigating. They are stuck in bureaucratic nightmare of endless revisions, waiting on emails and fighting with a broken system. If you hire 10 more people and drop them into an 80-hour per deviation system, you don't get 10x output. You just clog the system further. You are scaling a broken machine. Sanity check. Thank you. The QA tollgate is a violation of manufacturing physics. QA does not get involved until the end. This is the most fatal flaw in the entire operation. You cannot inspect quality into a process after the fact. If an investigator spends a month writing a deviation and root cause analysis and QA only reviews it at the finish line, QA is acting as a police force, not a partner. QA will inevitably find a flaw. QA will reject the deviation. It gets kicked all the way back to step 1. This massive delayed rework loop is the exact reason it takes 80 hours to close one piece of paper by isolating QA at the end. They have engineered a perfect system for maximum friction and zero velocity. Now, that would also explain why you probably have almost 2,000 employees, okay? This happens everywhere. Number 3, the top-down didn't work excuse. Okay. When a leadership team says top-down didn't work, it translates directly to, we tried holding people accountable, people complained, and we gave up. They want a bottom-up approach because they want the problem to magically fix itself without them having to make hard decisions. Hiring contractors to close deviations allows leadership to feel like they are doing some spending money without actually changing the factory floor. The FDA does not issue warning letters because of a paperwork backlog. They issue them because the factory floor is out of control. And number 4, the ultimatum, your strategy. If you take a contract, now this is talking to me, it's telling me, if you take a contract, Mike, to supply bodies to this broken machine, your reputation will burn with theirs when the FDA returns and shuts the facility down. And that's literally what I thought when I declined. I thought, I'm not putting my name on this because this is overwhelmingly proven to not work. Bottom-up approach. Right? That is why leadership starts from the top down. Okay. You're the role model as a leader. People exemplify the behaviors that you show them, right? If you're not getting along at the top, you're not getting along at the bottom. But one of the best interviews I ever conducted, I will never forget this guy's answer because he had worked in so many different industries, very high level guy. And I asked him, what's the most common theme that you see across all this variety of industries? And he said, the biggest disconnect is from the board to what is actually happening within their own organizations. And there you have it. You must decline their request for body shopping and counter with reality. I am looking at the hardcore counter pitch. I'm looking at the physics of your operation at 2 deviations a month with QA at the end of the line. Your rework loop is catastrophic. You don't have a headcount problem. You have a systemic architecture problem. I am basically a architect for businesses, right? That's kind of what I do. If I sell you 10 investigators today, they will just get stuck in your QA bottleneck and you will burn millions of dollars while the FDA prepares a consent decree. When you get into consent decree in a nutshell, okay, don't quote me, but in a nutshell, trying to keep this as simple as possible. You have a quality unit. The FDA says, we don't trust you to have a quality unit. The quality unit should be acting as your internal FDA so that you don't end up in these types of issues. They don't trust you. They're going to do it for you. They're going to find a firm or they'll do it themselves, an independent firm, and it's going to be extremely costly for you to get anything out of the door. You'll burn millions of dollars. I do not build broken systems and I won't let you waste your money on one. We are not going to hire anyone yet. First, I am bringing in a 3-person strike team. We are going to rip QA out of the back end and put them at the front end of the triage. We are going to re-engineer the workflow until one person can close 15 deviations a month. Once the machine is actually working, then we can talk about adding headcount to scale it. Take it or leave it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't just me. I was highly disappointed that that is the type of response that I received. I am glad to have gone through it and used my brain to think through the right response. Yes, could I do it? Yes, but I'm not willing to put my name on the line for something that I know is destined for failure, okay? So with that being said, my point, you can use the AI tools, but use your brain first. Think through it, use the inputs, think about everything that you did to achieve whatever result that you were able to achieve, critique it, challenge it, give it criteria. Don't return an output until you give it a grade A+ from the standpoint of whoever's an expert in that area. In that example, I only picked Elon because I know he pushes efficiency, quality, all of that is important to him, but you can see it in the results, the financial benefit that his companies have been able to achieve through that approach. That is leadership. Like him or not, this is not about anything other than assessing and measuring who does this well, what results indicate that they did it well. Use those benchmarks, apply it to AI, challenge yourself to make sure, I was really even thinking, I'm ready, I'm open to getting a different response because maybe I'm not seeing something. Maybe it was going to tell me just take the client because money is more important than anything. I don't believe that, but I had to test it. So I hope you found this of value. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole purpose of this channel is, look, we want to grow together. We know that AI is coming at full speed, full throttle. Okay, it's not going away. How we use it in business, leading teams, managing teams, achieving results that we want. Let's do that together. And we can do that if you click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See you later.